matter. Just maintain your cool. And then the moment you strike a conversation, seize the moment. Seize the moment. Waste no opportunity. Jesus met Matthew. He was at the receipt of custom. That's how the King James put it. In other words, he was at the tax collector's office. That is Matthew was at the internal revenue office. He was an internal revenue officer. And Matthew must have heard about Jesus because he was a man who has been waiting for an invitation. And the moment the master said, "Follow me," he left his job. He left everything and followed him. So you seize the moment. Once you have the opportunity, bring in the gospel. Very, very important. The master said, "Follow me." He left everything and followed him. There are people who will never come to church until you invite them, not anyone else, until you are the one that will invite them. There are some people that will never believe in Jesus until you, being given an opportunity, because you're in their sphere of contact, invite them to Christ. So that was an opportunity for the Lord himself to bring Matthew. And then learn to capture your admirers is very, very important. This is scenario number 4. Jesus was on the road. A lot of disciples following him. There was another man, I think he was the head of the IRS, Federal Internal FIRS, or the State Internal Revenue Service. His name Zacchaeus. He wasn't a tall person. He had heard about Jesus. He had longed to see Jesus. And so, because of the crowd, this whole man, Zacchaeus, he went and climbed on top of a sycamore tree just to catch a glimpse of Jesus. And the moment Jesus saw the leaves moving, looked up and saw Zacchaeus on top of the tree, he said, "Come down. We're going to your house." And he said, "Today salvation has come to your house." You see that? So I always say to those, especially ladies, if someone is telling you, "Hey, you're just a pretty lady," don't say it again. All right. Don't do all that nonsense. The reason they're paying you compliment is because God's giving them an opportunity. Okay? So when people talk to me like, "Hey, you look beautiful," I don't let my head swell. Don't I know I look beautiful? Christ in me, the hope of glory. I looked at the mirror before. "Hey, you're just so handsome." I say, "Thank you. You want to know what makes me handsome?" I've done that before. I was flying from Houston to Tampa, Florida, and I came in the plane, and a lady, as I came in, a lady said, I was going to sit, near them. There was a big plane, so there were 3 rows in that cabin. So I came in, she stood up, and I sat, and she sat down. So she said, "Wow, you must be a VIP." I said, "Yes, ma'am, a VVIP." "Oh," she said, "that's wonderful." She said, "Are you a celebrity?" I said, "More than a celebrity." "Oh," she said, "I thought as much." Now, I was excited in my spirit because I was waiting to sit down and strike a conversation. And then she said, "So what do you do then?" I said, "I'm a pastor." She said, "What?" I said, "Pastor, preacher." "Oh," she said, "Okay." Now her face changed. So I said, "Ma'am, do you believe in Jesus?" She said, "Sorry, I don't discuss religion." I said, "That makes 2 of us. I don't discuss religion either." I said, "I'm talking about Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, Savior of the world. I'm talking about a relationship." She said, "Please," I said, "I don't want to discuss religion." I said, "Why don't you just listen? I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the person." I didn't know the man on the other side was the husband. So when she thought I was disturbing her, she said, "John, please, could you come sit here?" So she changed her seat and moved to the other side and told the husband to come sit on the seat where she was. Wow. So I was happy. I said, well, you've submitted your husband. Since you won't listen, I followed up the husband. So when I was preaching to him, he said to me, I'm a Jew. I said, how? Where is your, the little cap? Where is your keeper? He brought it out of his pocket and showed me. I said, oh, that's beautiful. I said, somehow I'm a Jew too, because everything you believe, I believe. Well, he was arguing that Jesus didn't say he was the Son of God. He was not the Son of God. Don't believe in the New Testament. And then I started telling him, showing him, he was paying attention. Then when the woman saw that the husband was paying attention, we carried the newspaper, said, John, look at this. At first, I didn't understand what she was doing. Then the husband wasn't paying much. He said, okay, wasn't paying attention. Then she brought it a second. I said, ma'am, why are you disturbing him? She said, because I don't want him to listen to you. I followed up on the man. He was listening to me. They were going for a Jewish ceremony in Tampa, Florida. So only for me to find that they live just behind our church in Houston, Texas, on Westheimer Street. I gave him an invitation, and he told me that he described the church for her, that their house was just behind, and he was coming to church. Okay, so a compliment that he paid, or he said something, like I said, capture your admirers is very, very important. Anybody is admiring you. If you have beauty, I know that God gave me this beauty to attract others to the person that lives on the inside. That's it. So when they come, I'm attracting them to the one that lives inside of me. See, I'm not going to let what you say. The praise of men should not get into your head, but utilize it. Very important. Now, scenario number 5, go beyond your first contact. Jesus penetrated families, and I've been saying that. So when you say I invited the people, they're coming to church, remember, start a personal call center now. Start calling them. Apart from